Welcome to my story. My name is Chantra Williams, and I have the pleasure of being able to represent Rising Voices for Project Sleep. Today, we are going to hear about my little journey and pathway through something called narcolepsy. As we go forward today, I want to give a shout out because on September 22nd, we celebrate World Narcolepsy Day. And yes, as you can probably tell, you are hearing from a first person perspective. I have narcolepsy, and I'm going to share with you how I discovered that. So, normal upbringing, Saginaw, Michigan, playing with dolls, enjoying my area. Everything was fine till about fifth grade. And then the following symptoms started to show up. So we're going to do this in two ways. Remember when you were little and you played I Spy? There are some things I'm going to ask you to spy out for today. And these are symptoms of narcolepsy. So the slides will help you. You're going to look for that first one, excessive daytime sleepiness. Next, you're going to look for a slide that talks about cataplexy. Next, you're going to look for a slide that goes into different types of hallucinations. Fourth, sleep paralysis. And fifth, we're going to talk about disturbed nighttime sleepiness. Now, keep in mind, as I'm going through these or experiencing these symptoms, I don't realize what they are. I don't have names for them. So I want to give you the benefit of what I did not have is the actual names of what was going on. There are two types of narcolepsy, narcolepsy with cataplexy and narcolepsy without cataplexy. By the end of this presentation, it's my hope that you'll understand which type of narcolepsy I have that I've shared with you today. And here we go. So in the 1990s, I'm in junior high school and I am falling asleep almost during all activities. Whether I'm studying or reading, I'm falling asleep. I'm supposed to be cleaning, I'm falling asleep. I am in the car as a passenger. I have no idea where we even got from point A to point B. Why? Because I am in the car knocked out. I'm asleep. I remember waking up. Oddly enough, I never remember falling asleep. All right, so ding, ding, ding. First symptom of narcolepsy that I'm experiencing is EDS, excessive daytime sleepiness. So my brain was in this persistent fog. I was always tired. I was just frankly exhausted. This is also around the time that I'm becoming a young lady, and so my body is taking other changes. And so I chalk all this up to puberty. Well, outside of puberty, some additional things begin to happen. My fatigue is off the roof to the point where they're trying to figure out why is she so tired. So, as you see, one of the reasons narcolepsy is difficult to diagnose is because symptoms like fatigue are really common. So the first thing they thought was, oh, she probably has low iron. So if we can get that tested, we'll figure out what's going on. Well, I got tested and I did have low iron. So we thought problem was solved. And actually, it wasn't because that wasn't the only symptom I was experiencing that they were attributing to fatigue. The other was disturbed nighttime sleep. And I know what you're thinking. Well, everybody gets up at night sometimes. Possibly. In this case, I was having multiple sleep awakenings where for me, it was like my clock was upside down. So at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I am completely exhausted as if I have been working multiple shifts. But at 3 o'clock in the morning, I am highly alert and awake and actually was doing some of my best homework, reading, and studying at that time because I couldn't go to sleep. I wake up and I just would be stuck awake. Sometimes it would go from midnight, sometimes it'd be 2, sometimes it'd be 4, and I would just be awake and then I go back to sleep. During some of those times, there was a popular movie that came out and it was called The Bodyguard. And I was in my grandmother's living room and I remember realizing that I was trapped in my own body. I could hear the movie playing, or in my mind, I saw the movie playing. My grandmother was in the room. I could even see myself. And I'm telling her, Grandma, kind of shake me out of it, grab me, touch me, do something so I wake up out of this. And I'm screaming her name and she's not hearing me. And when I finally break out of it, I would, instead of saying grandma, all you heard was ma, and my throat was sore. And so that's what we call a sleep um, paralysis. I knew I was in my body, but I couldn't get out. Now, to couple that, it wasn't just that I knew that I was trapped in my body, I was seeing and hearing all kinds of things. But before we get to that, I'm on the still road of figuring out what's going on. This isn't just low iron because low iron doesn't do all this other stuff. So then they thought, well, we can't deal with the other things because I didn't even share those out loud. I thought I was having my own personal issues. And so I focused on the fatigue. And so the thought was, oh, maybe she has mono. Now, back in the day, they used to call this the kissing disease. I don't know why, but there was a song that came out by SWV, and the lyrics were, I get so weak in the knees, I can hardly speak. I lose all control. Something takes over me in a daze. Your love's so amazing. It's not a phase. I want you to stay with me. By my side, I'll swallow my pride. Your love is so sweet. It knocks me right off of my feet. I can't explain why your love, it makes me weak. Narcolepsy with cataplexy is narcolepsy 1. Cataplexy is when you do have this loss of muscle control. And for me, it was the loss of muscle control in my knees, sometimes my neck. And if I was to watch anything funny, I used to love to watch Martin. I would sit on the couch and I would start laughing. And if my head fell forward, it'd be uncomfortable. If my head fell backwards, I would sometimes feel like I was choking and I'd be terrified. So I became a very serious teenager because I was afraid of laughing because laughing would also make me fall. In this case, I had a boyfriend at the time and he liked to crack jokes, and I would get around him and he'd say something funny and I would literally fall to the floor, and he'd run to catch me before I hit the floor. So I'm again not sure what it is. And they're like, well, when you have mono, you are tired and sometimes you have muscle weakness. I got tested for that. I did not have mono, and yet those symptoms of falling whenever I was really, in my case, it was usually laughter, joy, and sometimes if somebody scared me or boo, I'd fall too. So any strong emotion would kind of hijack my muscles, especially in my knees, and for me, it was almost like my neck. This one where it got really scary. I thought I was just having nightmares, horrible, horrible nightmares. And then I realized there were days where I was certain, I knew for sure it was not a nightmare. It was real. And the gentleman you see on the screen, I promise you with everything I have on everything real 100. This bro showed up, and I was in my parents' room in the bed. He came through the wall, opened his mouth, and them little guys on the other side started. It looked like bats coming out of his mouth, and I was stuck to my bed. I couldn't move, I couldn't run. And I'm looking at all these things come out, and I'm like, man, I think I'm getting attacked by demons. And the only thing I could think of in my fear, I couldn't run, I couldn't move. And I was like, Lord, I done read your word, and I know I have some type of authority in Jesus. And I told them spirits, I was like, you don't have authority over me. You can't kill me. You can't do nothing to me without God's permission. So you can go in his name. I'm telling you, you can leave me alone. And all of them little bats got sucked right back in his mouth, and bro fell back and disappeared. And I was able to get up. I woke up oddly bittersweet, terrified, but then yet confident in, okay, I'm so sick of these things coming for me at night that I now know I have the authority to tell them to get out and go away. I did not realize at the time that there was a name for that. And I was having these hallucinations that were very vivid. I mean, on everything. I'm seeing it, I'm hearing it, I am feeling it 100%. You can't tell me what I've seen is not what I've just seen. It's not my fault, nobody else saw it. Now, I pair this with people consider, one of the nurses actually told my mother, your daughter might be on drugs, because if she's seeing stuff that's not there and she's getting nervous, and it might be drugs. And my mother was like, my daughter is not on drugs. So then they was like, well, maybe she's pregnant because, think about it, her body's changing. She's still always tired. And at that point, my mama was like, I'm over it. And no, I'm not going to give her a pregnancy test because one, my daughter's a virgin. Two, y'all already went me through mono. You done went me through all this other stuff that she doesn't have. She's taking all this tests. She's not on drugs. I'm over it. We're done. Hence the picture of the cat in the middle. So the unfortunate thing is it does take about 8 to 10 years for the average person to even realize that what they're dealing with is narcolepsy. And the time in the middle can just be really chaotic, frustrating, and just like, confusing because you know something's not right, but you don't know what it is. And literally you feel like you having like this mental breakdown that's affecting you physically, and you just don't know how to fix it. So the only reason, and when I say only reason, I have a name to say, oh, I have narcolepsy 1, is because I was in driver's training when I was 15. hence the picture of the gentleman with the beard, because I promise you that's what my driver's trainer kind of looked like a little bit, kind of. We're driving in the car. I'm assuming he has some control of the vehicle because your girl, me, falls asleep. And yet I'm holding the wheel because some people don't realize that. And like, well, if you sleep, how you driving? I don't know. It just happens. Okay. Trust me, I bet you've been in a car with somebody who was half asleep too, and they were still holding the wheel, foot on the gas, and was not really conscious. So what happened was it was a billboard. He was like, what does the billboard say? And I don't know what I said, but at that point he realized I wasn't fully there. And when we pulled over, he was like, I think you have something called narcolepsy. Your doctor's not going to know what it is. And it was either his sister or his sister-in-law who had been diagnosed. He said, ask your doctor to refer you to a sleep specialist. And that's what I did. So what I discovered was, wow, I did have a neurological disorder, something that disrupts my sleep-wake cycle. I'm not an oddity. Actually, it affects 1 in 2,000 people. And because I have cataplexy, I was narcolepsy 1. Honestly, I didn't learn until years later that there even was a narcolepsy 2. I just assumed everybody with narcolepsy had all the same symptoms, which they do not. It's estimated that only 25% of people with narcolepsy ever get diagnosed. So imagine what that's like, going through this your whole life, trying to search and figure out what's wrong, and you just don't know. So I was able to go to a sleep center. It looked kind of like this, actually. I thought I was getting like in a hotel room, and they were able to give me a sleep study. No pain, no shots, nothing like that. If anything, they kind of hook you up to all of these like kind of little electrodes at night. They monitor your sleeping, your breathing. Someone's kind of through a double pane glass watching you. They wake you up, they put you to sleep. And they're able to, there's one you can do overnight. And at the end of the time, they're able to really see if you have narcolepsy or not. And let's just say, pass with flying colors. So the treatment options are different for different people with most disorders. I will say some of the things I've highlighted in yellow have helped me throughout the years. I was diagnosed when I was 15, and I am 47 now. So the scheduled daytime naps actually have been some of my greatest allies, regardless if I was on medication or not, or what kind. And just having general sleep hygiene, diet has been huge for me because there's certain things that trigger my onset of sleep in extreme ways, such as carbs or sugars, that I know I have to avoid. And just being fit in general has helped out a lot. So to wrap up, life with narcolepsy, honestly, for me, has been just kind of a path of opportunity. Initially, I was thinking, okay, how is this going to impact me? But because I was diagnosed so early, I learned early on how to adapt and ebb and flow kind of with narcolepsy. So I was able to graduate high school. When I was in high school, I was taking naps. I had people come wake me up. When I went off to college, I knew what I was dealing with. I understood how to drive. I knew how to pull over if I was tired. I didn't ignore it. I knew different ways to help stay awake. I knew how to communicate with the people on campus, how to give my teachers disclaimers about what I was going through. And it didn't mean it was easy, but it meant I was able to. So I graduated from high school, and I think I've graduated from college, let's just say multiple times, with different degrees. So it is totally possible to have something um, with you that it doesn't stop you from reaching your dreams or goal. I was also able to become a teacher, which was the perfect actually occupation for me, because even on my job, they made so that I could take naps if I needed to, when my kids were at lunch per classroom. And I was able to constantly be moving with my class, which kept me more alert and awake. So the treatments I am on now, like I just said, I happen to be on Sunosi. This is not a commercial for Sunosi. I've been on lots of different things, but in general, wherever you are at your job, just being able to advocate for things like nap breaks, flexible scheduling, being able to work from home. We tried the standing desk. It did not help me at all. The recording pen had a lot of directions. And so honestly, the things that helped me the most were knowing if I was able to drive. For several years, my husband drove me to work and back, when I wasn't using medication. And once I was on medication and I was confident that I wasn't a threat to other people, I started driving myself. Being able to avoid high carb foods. I have a story where I decided I was going to drink lemonade, sugar, and I was going to eat macaroni at a conference, and I literally passed out in the bathroom. I don't even know how long I was in there, but my legs fell asleep to the point when I came out, it probably was maybe an hour. later they didn't even realize I was in there, but I was knocked out. And so I had to be careful about the way different things I ate impacted my onset of sleep. But also, and this is for everybody, just making sure you all to have healthy sleep hygiene. So try to go to bed at the same time every night. Try to cut off caffeine as early as possible. Exercising early in the morning really does help for you to have a better night's sleep. Putting your devices up so that you're not staring at screens, an hour or two before bed, and avoiding fatty or heavy meals before bedtime really do help improve your quality of sleep. So I want to appreciate you for coming out today. If you have any other questions about narcolepsy, just know that you can have a healthy life with whatever um, health issue you may be facing. The important part is having a supportive team of people, and these are the people at my job, and those are my family, my husband and my sons. And because narcolepsy, for me, is genetic, because actually, when I got tested, I found out that my mother had it. And then when we would hear stories about my granddad falling asleep driving, we realized this may have been a generational thing for us. That's not the only way. Some people have narcolepsy from head injuries, and it's not really pinpoint on how you can. But the point is, we want to raise awareness, especially if you're a school age person, because the sooner you can get help, the sooner you can learn how to not just live with it, but to thrive and be successful and still achieve all of your dreams, and not feel alone. You can get support in the communities that you need. So I've done presentations at schools. I'll be looking forward to doing actually one this afternoon. But this one was just for friends, families, that if you notice someone is having trouble staying awake, or you've seen some of these symptoms in yourself or family members or others, just recommend them for a sleep study. At the end of the day, what's the worst that can happen? They find out that they don't have narcolepsy, or maybe they have something else. Also, if you're in a place of a school leader or a company leader and you can be a sleep friendly organization, there are general things that help all people. And making sure that people have time for rest and sleep and leisure so that they are more productive just will help make your workplace a better place in general. Remember, as we close, it's not rare. 1 in 5 Americans lives with some type of chronic sleep disorder, and there is help. So if you can reach out, there is projectsleep.com, can walk you through not just different types of sleep disorders, but different types of supports and systems so that you can be yourself and help others to be their best self. All right, if you were able to see this, go ahead and scan that QR code so I can let the good people at Rising Voices know that the story continues and that we are sharing the awareness of not just narcolepsy, but that for people to realize that they don't have to live an undiagnosed life, that they can put a name to the thing that's causing them confusion and realize that they can have success and a really good quality of life and a support system. All right, thanks for viewing.